fuck?
That one line epitomizes my thoughts and feelings regarding this episode. The weight, the emotion, intensity, and depth of this episode is unlike any other before it. We are one away, folks. One away from finishing it all.
Just the one?
I'm still collecting my thoughts right now, as this installment of The Walking Dead encapsulated everything you could want from this show, and truly embodied the feeling you had when watching the first season.
So beautiful.
It was full of intrigue regarding the walkers, we're filled with intrigue as to who will make it out alive for the finale, and we're left wondering why Daddy Daryl was being ripped away from Judith.
Ain't nothing but a heartache. Tell me why. Ain't nothing but a mistake.
This series started off enveloped in mystery as to how this all began and how it would be dealt with by the end. In line with the comics, they've chosen to hint at possible factors but are yet to actually offer a conclusive answer. And personally, I'm good without it, if it means that we get more of this in the future. The writing in this episode was incredible. The cinematography was actually useful in engaging audiences, as it didn't do what I like to call the Kevin Dunn effect.
How does that work? Where does that exactly come from? It doesn't make any sense.
Make it stop!
Or anything that would take you out of it. Though I won't speak for everyone in saying that, as my wife, for example, hated the focus lens that it had on Eugene for a brief moment when he took out the guard. I can assure you, this isn't just a giddy after effect from watching it, because I managed to watch this one last week. To keep the content stream going, however, I waited until now to release it.
It's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for him.
I loved and hated this one because it pinched every nerve in me, pulled on every heartstring, and pissed me off to no end with the incompetence of Pamela at the heart of how I feel. But the excitement I hold for when she'll die is something I'll treasure for even potentially killing Judith. She committed the most atrocious act that you possibly could in this one, that obviously won't end in the same way but is a parallel to her losing Sebastian. She's given her enemy the final match for the fire. She is, in her mind still, however, done nothing wrong, and because of her own delusions and ego is convinced that she's still in the right, with the remark after shooting Judith being, there is so much to discuss from this episode, but I'm only going to be touching on the things that really stood out for me. So if there is something I missed out that you'd like me to go into further, then please drop it in the comments down below. Let's strike up a chat. The soul in this one felt almost similar to the same heart felt in the final episode before Negan's arrival in the show and before the end of the all-out war. The implication of something bigger to come is obviously painted on the wall in this instance due to the show wrapping up, but it helps to have established this formula in seasons prior as you take these final minutes seriously. I saw some comments on other videos where people had stated that regardless of how much they knew of the franchise going forward and who they knew would survive beyond these final episodes, the stakes had never been higher, and the anxiety is at its peak with a heavy emotional undertone. Audiences of the show, both past and present, are coming together for one last hurrah, as we say goodbye to what has been a staple of the horror genre for over 10 years, and if I'm honest, it's going to be weird not seeing anything from them as regularly anymore. Obviously, they've siphoned off Norman Reedus to head up a series, and Jeffrey Dean and Lauren Cohen are at the helm of another, but to experience the world of The Walking Dead with established regulars week to week, that's beyond these three at least, is something that's become almost a creature comfort for me and many others. So to lose that is probably going to take some getting used to.
Let's get to it. I can't take this shit no more, man.
The Walking Dead was truly my introduction to horror, to the zombie genre, and led to my enjoyment of many other survival horrors like I Am Legend, 28 Days Later, Saw, The Strain, Z Nation, and even other media like Resident Evil and Silent Hill. I'm truly gutted to see the conclusion of The Walking Dead, with how much they've amped everything up and the quality of the writing, the dialogue, the acting, the sets, the makeup, just concludes the show with the same energy as it started with, and demonstrates the care that is involved with this. We're ending the show with the lead characters consisting of individuals that weren't even in the first season, let alone the first episode, Daryl was never in the comics and didn't enter the fray until episode 3 alongside Carol. Maggie in season 2, Rosita and Eugene were introduced in season 4, Gabriel and Aaron arrived in season 5 and Negan at season 6, with Ezekiel and Jerry capping it off in 7. The group that we're concluding with is certainly an assortment that not many audiences probably would have predicted, but honestly, I'm happy with them. I was concerned for the strength of the show once Rick left, but surprisingly they've delivered effective villains, most of the time, meaningful character arcs and plenty of loss that has motivated our survivors to persevere and continue to create a better world that Rick and Carl both wanted by the end. The reason I mention this is because this episode had some genuine heartfelt moments of interaction between the characters, opening with Negan trying to appeal to Maggie with the sensibility of protecting everyone else, and whilst Maggie initially dismisses him and then walks away from him, on the train to the Commonwealth she overhears the conversation between Ezekiel and Negan that might have just swayed her, where they confess to each other how they feel and what they wish to do with themselves going forward.
I'm not crying, you're crying!
Zeke won't forget what Negan did, but he doesn't want to live in resentment anymore, as he smiled at death more than once and doesn't wish to waste this last chance he's received. And Negan wants to be better and confesses that he's grown to care about everyone around him, despite how they feel for him, and he has their best interests at heart. This is powerful content for sure, and gives at least a stronger understanding of potentially why Negan and Maggie wind up together, that maybe Maggie can recognise what Negan is saying and never forget, and possibly never forgive, but may be willing to offer a branch to let him try and start anew. The other tearjerkers come from Daddy Daryl with Judith and Lydia in this episode. Daryl has without a doubt become a father figure to Judith, and without meaning to, has stepped into the role honourably. He's taken it with pride and has shown at multiple points that he'll give everything to protect Rick's kids, that have unintentionally become his own. He's no longer the wanderer anymore, he's an adoptive father with responsibilities, and sadly, as any parent does, he made a mistake in this one by allowing Judith to come along on such a mission that unfortunately wound up with her taking a bullet. Daryl, in my opinion, should be the one to strike the final blow on Pamela. She shot his kid at the end of the day, nearly killed Eugene, took their homes, imprisoned everyone he cared about, and has left thousands of her civilians to die to protect the wealthy areas of a forgotten city. Every single character has a stake in this game and could rightfully strike the final blow, but it would in my mind be right for Daryl to assume the role of Rick in this instance and unite and save his family once and for all, before being taken away by whatever takes him in his spin-off. Where Lydia hits in this episode is unfortunately now mimicking Aaron, in that she's lost her arm and had to have it amputated due to a walker bite trying to save Elijah. During the episode, we follow Aaron and his crew for a bit, who are caught up in a herd that's only growing larger by the second, and as they try to make an escape into an abandoned home on the way, Luke, Jules and Eli get separated from the rest, but as Eli is taken, the bite occurs, and Aaron and Jerry have to work quickly to amputate Lydia's arm, but Lydia's concern in this moment is losing someone else she cares about. You have to remember how terrifying this would be for her. Her mother tortured her, then the Whisperers abused her, then the little hope she did find in the world was welcomed with Henry and then stripped away once again by her mother. Then she was blamed for that, only to find Negan as a source of support for a bit before he was taken out of the fray too, and then essentially hid away until Judith, Daryl and Aaron saw some value in her. Now she's losing a physical part of herself to this world that just seemingly keeps taking things away from her. She's broken and distraught and just wishes for a happy life with someone that will love her as equally as she loves them. And in the final seconds before her amputation, Aaron delivers the most beautiful line that she needed to hear, of "You are loved." This line is what she needed to hear the whole time, and I really hope that Jerry finds Eli in the final episode and reunites him with Lydia, as the girl's been through enough for someone so young, and hopefully Aaron can step into the father figure role with her alongside Gracie. Our heroes have been through just about everything that you could conceivably imagine any human going through in this world, and we've seen twisted ways in how humanity will torture itself. My hopes now are that we get a satisfying conclusion for our group, with the exception of Maggie, Negan and Daryl, and that they can finally settle down as their homes have been rebuilt, and as we close the doors on this series, they're all together once more. That's going to do it for this week's episode though, everyone. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked this video, smash that like button in the face, subscribe for more content, including the final episode of The Walking Dead next week, and let me know how you felt regarding the penultimate episode of the series. Until next time though, I wish you well, and take care.